Hi guys, welcome back to TV Spoilers. Today I'm going to give you some extremely important information regarding the mysterious disappearance of Lily and Devon. This might raise unexpected suspicions among viewers. Lily's disappearance without a trace will only increase Nate Hastings and Devon's anxiety. Her disappearance isn't just a gap in their schedules or an inexplicable silence on the phone. It's a widening crack in the minds of those left, especially Nate and Devon, as they both understand that Lily isn't the type to disappear impulsively. Her absence brings a sense of disharmony to everything. Meetings become pointless, seemingly ordinary questions become needles piercing their worries, and every time the phone rings, their hearts race with a moment of hope just to plummet when it's just meaningless text message. Nate tried to remain calm with the cold, rational approach he usually used to reassure others, but the more he analyzed the situation, the more he realized that all his harmless assumptions were untenable. Devon, however, was different. His anxiety was tinged with protective instincts, family bonds, and memories of loved ones being caught up in power struggles. Both began to panic in a very human way, not through explosive actions, but through a quiet obsession, through constantly reviewing small details, questioning what they had missed, and through the helplessness of realizing they couldn't reach Lily. Initially, Devon and Nate might have tried to reassure each other that Lily was only temporarily withdrawing to protect some plan, or that she was actively controlling the situation in her own way. But the longer it went on, the more that optimism resembled a repeated lie used to cope. They began to question the bigger picture, and as the pieces fell into place, a chilling conclusion emerged. Kane's family was being used by Victor as a bargaining chip. This wasn't a random game, but a familiar setup by Victor, where people were reduced to conditions, family ties were used as leverage, and power was maintained by keeping others constantly in fear of having something to lose. Devon saw a ruthless strategy, while Nate saw a sophisticated control structure, the kind Victor always used to force opponents to cut off their own escape routes before entering negotiations. Most frighteningly for Victor, what was happening might simply necessary, as if the emotions and lives of others were merely operating costs for an empire. Meanwhile, Victor insisted that Lily agreed with the plan. That assertion sounds reasonable on the surface, because Lily was someone who was willing to endure pressure to protect her family and children, and she was also intelligent enough to understand that sometimes, to survive in Victor's world, one had to choose when to remain silent. But precisely because they understood Lily, Devon and Nate felt the agreement smelled of manipulation. They couldn't deny the possibility that Lily had been put in a situation where agreeing with simply the less painful of two terrible choices, and even less could they deny the possibility that Victor was using the word agreement as a legal cover for her imprisonment. That ambiguity became suffocating, because if Lily had truly agreed, why did she completely disappear from all communication? If Lily agreed, why did the remaining signals feel cut off, controlled, and manipulated? The cruelest aspect of the current situation is that it forces who wants to save Lily to weigh their options like those they hate. Devon doesn't want to turn Lily into a number in an equation, but reality is forcing him to think that ways to protect her. Nate doesn't want to accept that Victor can decide whether or not to let Lily leave with Maddie and Charlie. But if Victor truly holds control, denial only slows them down. At the heart of it all, Lily may be suffering isolation as a form of psychological punishment, facing the feeling of being treated as property, as a condition, as a way for Victor to force others to comply. She may have entered the plan with the intention of enduring for the sake of her family, but when Phyllis tips the scales by drugging Kane and seizing control, Lily may realize she's been trapped in a web with an increasingly blurred exit. What haunts me most isn't the violence or the conspiracy, but the manipulation of familial affection. Maddie and Charlie are no longer just Lily's children, but risk becoming the reason she's being held back. Billy is no longer just an impulsive, confrontational man, but the target of Victor's message. Devon and Nate are no longer just worried individuals, but are forced to choose between action and silence. The plot intensifies with the relentless search for Lily. Will they have any suspicions?